Welcome to Kibera News Network once again on our talk show. And today we have Honorable Ken Okoth. Ken Okoth is one of the guys that is aspiring for MP Kibra Constituency. Welcome to our talk show, Mr. Ken Okoth.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for coming. It's nice to have you here today.
My pleasure.
And maybe we just have to start straight away.
Yes.
Why have you decided to become a politician?
I have decided to step into the political field because I think leadership matters and leadership makes a difference. And our community right now is in a position of transition. Our Member of Parliament that's been here 20 years is going to State House, the Excellency Raila Odinga. And I, as a son of Kibra, born and raised here, familiar with the issues here, and already have been taking action to make a difference on some of those issues as a private citizen, I'm ready to step into the political field because it will afford me a bigger platform to tackle more issues in Kibera and impact the lives of our people in more significant ways.
Good. Why ODM, not any other party?
ODM, I am a leader who listens to the people. I listen carefully to the people of Kibra, and there's many different voices and opinion on that. There's a diversity of parties in Kibra, but the people of Kibra are majority ODM supporters. And if you're going to serve the people, you have to be with them where they are. So ODM is the party to beat in Kibera. It's the party of majority of people in Kibera, and I belong to it. I also think the reforms and democracy agenda for Kenya can only be realized, the full implementation of our constitution can only be realized through leadership by ODM. That's the confidence we have that we don't have from other people. If you look at the leaders of ODM, they're the people who paid the political price for the second liberation of Kenya. They're the people who have fought for the new constitution that's bringing in changes in Kenya, and they're the people we can trust to implement that.
You mentioned constitution.
Yes.
And the constitution requires that someone needs to be having some education
Yes.
for them to vie some kind of positions
Yes.
in government.
Yeah.
Can you share with us your education background?
Education for me is not a problem. As I say in Kiswahili, kitabu tumekula kitabu, sawa sawa. I started my education here in Kibera at the nursery school on Karanja Road. I studied at Olympic Primary School, class 1 to class 8. I was a very poor child from a very humble family, so I got sponsored to go to Starehe Boys Center. Otherwise, I would not have afforded secondary school, and that continues to be a problem in Kibera. Many children don't have fees to go to secondary school. So I went to Starehe Boys Center free, and I learned a lot there. After Starehe, I was supposed to go to University of Nairobi. Again, I didn't have the money and I didn't have the connections to get the loans, so I didn't go to University of Nairobi, and I spent 2 years working as a security guard in town and selling newspapers. But God is a merciful God. I'm a man of faith, and that matters to me, and I've seen the hand of God in my life, and that helped me through selling newspapers. One of my clients was from America, and I talked to them well, and they told me about a university in America. So I applied, and I went to university in New York, a university called St. Lawrence University, and I got my bachelor's degree there in 2001. And then in 2005, I got my master's degree from Georgetown University. They have a School of Foreign Service and International Affairs in Washington, D.C. And so that's where I studied diplomacy and international relations. I graduated with my master's in 2005. I've worked in universities, I've worked in school. I was employed at St. Lawrence University, at Georgetown University, and at the University of Dar es Salaam for 2.5 years. So in terms of academic background, knowledge of international affairs, development issues, academically and theoretically, I understand that. I have the background. I did a specialty in European relations as part of my master's because the Europeans are big partners of Kenyan development. We have a heritage of British colonialism. We deal with the EU, tourists from there, a lot of trading partners. So it's important for someone to have an understanding of who influences our country's economy. So that's my academic background. I've been a teacher, I've been a mentor to young people, and the education is there, good grades, but it's not just that. Book education is one thing. Street education and understanding the people's needs is another thing. And there, I think I've also qualified through my work and efforts.
Very much learned and very much educated. So what would be your job like if elected MP Kibra Constituency?
I think it would be a fantastic job. I think I'm going to really enjoy being the MP because not only do I care about the needs of the people of Kibera, But as an MP, I'll have some access and a platform and resources to do something about what our people need. Right now, as a private citizen, through my friends, through an NGO I've started, I can help on certain issues. But I hear so many challenges. For instance, if you educate a child and give them access to a good school, that's great. But if the child comes home and the parents don't have money and a business, the child will go hungry at home. So I want to make sure, as an MP, I'm seeing about economic empowerment for the parents, economic empowerment for the adults in this community. So when we're educating their children, they can also take care of them at home. So I'm really looking forward to being MP. I think it'll be an enjoyable job. I thrive on working with people. I get energized. I'm sympathetic. I know the pains that people are going through in Kibera. Life has gotten tougher in Kibera than even when we were children. And I want us, people of Kibera, to have a better generation, that our children will have a better life than the ones our parents were able to give us. So I look forward to being an MP. I look forward to the challenge to serve. It's a human challenge, it's an intellectual challenge, it's a leadership challenge, listening to people and trying to empower them and show them the way to actually implement their own solutions which they need, and giving them the resources and advice to realize those goals.
Yeah, what would be your first priority? You might be wanting to do a lot of things to get that position.
Yes.
But what will you give the first priority?
I would say in Kibera in the next 5 years, and certainly in the next 10 years, there's a lot of big things that have to be tackled. So let us start with the first priorities would be 3 key issues. We must create opportunities for training and education for our young people, because that ties in with the second issue of security. And then the last thing we must do amongst the top 3 priorities, they're all interwoven, is economic empowerment. So let me talk about those. When I talk about education and access to education for our children, I mean, do children who have talent in music get the training and access to a studio and access to show their talent and turn that to be the next big gospel music star or pop music star, and make that is a career and a talent that has to be nurtured and trained? Do young people who just need technical skills, whether it's driving, masonry, carpentry, plumbing, that will immediately, after 6 months of training, get them a job and some way to make an honest living? That is education. We have to look at it and make sure those training and education opportunities there. For young people who want to follow even academic careers, they want to go to university, they want to go to college, what do we do to make sure they have those opportunities and their talent is not stopped because their parents are poor? So education is very important. But when I talk about education, I mean even students who have the talent to play basketball, tennis, soccer. These are also career paths and talents and gifts that our children in Kibera have. We must educate them, train them, nurture them, and make sure they can turn that into something that will benefit them as adults. So that's a key part. That will reduce unemployment here when we're looking at all children across the spectrum and meeting them where they are and giving them the skills and the training to become productive adults. That will also reduce insecurity. Security is a big issue in Kibera. A lot of young unemployed people falling into the ways of crime. We know an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So we must make sure that our young people are empowered. We make sure the groups are organized and they can get access to capital to do their own projects. We must make sure that my office as an MP, we will have 5 offices in each of the wards dealing with employment affairs for the young people, so they can come in there, apply for jobs. We can proactively advocate for them once we have the information in our database to place them in government jobs, so that it's in nursing, Teacher Service Commission, Kenya Wildlife Service, the military, the police. All these are jobs that you can advocate as an MP to get some of your constituents placed. And those are good, stable jobs that will help our youth. Right now, somebody needs to partner with them and help them to get those. Those who can't get all fully employed in the employment sector like that formally, we come back to them within their groups and see, do they have access to capital that is affordable to do sustainable projects so they're self-empowered and self-employed rather than idle. And that's the last thing I would say with that, is not just the youth empowerment, but our parents, our adults in the communities, mothers and fathers, people in small traders and small businesses. people in the Jua Kali sector. We must stand up for their interests. There's a Women's Development Fund. We could use the CDF creatively. If we set aside only 10 million every year, 10 million Kenyan shillings for all of Kibra, for small traders and Jua Kali sector people and groups to apply for loans that don't have very tough restrictions, that are reasonable and are tailored for the needs of Kibera businessmen, we could see we are empowering our people and start lifting them up. Because a key problem right now is these small businesses and this Jua Kali sector that are the engine of our economy in Kibera, those people do not have access to capital to move from somebody who makes and sells 3 sofa sets a month. How do you get them the capital so they start sending 20 sofa sets a month? That is a thing.
Fantastic,
Mr. Yeah.
And this is an area that has been controlled, has been led by Prime Minister for quite some time.
Yes.
What would you say he did well and what did he not do well?
I think that
are you able to fit into his shoes? What will you improve?
Fitting into the shoes of the Prime Minister, I'm confident we can do that. I've grown up in his shadow. I was helped by him when I started going to high school. One of the key philosophies that the Prime Minister and I share is this question of upward social mobility. We need to have leadership in Kenya, and especially particularly in a place like Kibera, that understands how do you raise a child and create a system where a child can overpass the situation of the parents and the family they were born into. Just because your dad is a poor farmer, or that's because your mama sells mandazi on the side of the road, your fate can be better than theirs. That's upward social mobility. And it goes with education, it goes with access to capital, and all that. So I believe I can follow in the Prime Minister's footsteps because we believe in the same things. He's a social democrat in very many ways, to make sure that it's not just the capitalists that win and make profit, but that everybody in the country benefits and feels the privilege. So I'd say some of the key things that the Prime Minister has done, he has helped our education sector. If you look at KNN School, they have a high school built there. There's a school for children with disabilities. You come to Langata High School, it's being turned into a provincial boarding school now, increasing the quality of that. If you come down here closer in Kibra, Olympic High School was a dream. Now it exists. How do we move on and turn that into an excellent girls' boarding school? So there's a lot of things that we can do with education. There's infrastructure and housing. We've started the slum upgrading project. I congratulate the Prime Minister because many people opposed that, but now we're in phase 2 of it. I'm confident with him as president and the control of the Treasury, we will make sure there's more resources to improve the infrastructure, the housing projects, to move those faster and make sure our people can live in better conditions.
What do you think of the current politics in Kenya?
The current politics in Kenya, it's very interesting. I think on the one hand side, you've got the Moi orphans, you know, people who have not demonstrated what did they do with their youth to serve Kenya. They were born into privilege, or they played into political privilege and got some access to power, but they've never done anything to serve Kenyans. They've done everything to benefit themselves and enjoy power and economic success. That's great, but what have they sacrificed and given for Kenya? I see nothing. I don't see any sacrifice that Uhuru Kenyatta has made for Kenya, so I can't vote for him for president. I don't see any sacrifices that Ruto has made for Kenya, and that's his democratic right to run. I think it's highly irresponsible for them, with a case at the ICC to answer, to put our country at risk. I believe they should stay out of the election and wait 5 years and try to run. But that also has political implications, because then people will say they were blocked. So let them be free to run now. But fundamentally, I think it's wrong for them to run when they know they could get in power and still have to go for weeks at a time to answer a case abroad. That, I think, is irresponsible. It's a huge risk for the Kenyan economy. I remember the 80s and the 90s when the sanctions were against the Moi government to bring back democracy. Inflation was very high in Kenya. The people suffered, the economy suffered. We don't want that. President Kibaki and Raila Odinga have rebuilt this country from the post-election violence, have restarted the engine of our economy. We cannot afford to risk that with electing Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
These nominations have been associated with violence and complaints. Do you think it's going to be free and fair this time round? And also, there is going to be zoning. They're talking of zoning and joint nominations.
Yes.
What do you think about it?
Well, I'll talk of the case of Kibra, for instance. We're concerned about violence. We've raised this issue with the political administration. We've raised this with the police, that they must observe this. And we're raising it in our peaceful campaigns with the people. We're talking to our youth not to be persuaded or bought and used and then dumped to perpetuate violence at the nominations. The laws of Kenya has changed. Our party, called Alliance, risks losing a nomination completely if we run our elections in a violent way. So there's something at stake. Whether I win or somebody else wins, if those elections are seen to be violent and undemocratic, the IEBC can reject all of us and we will have no nominee from our party, and that would be a disaster. So it's in the interest of every member of CORD Alliance, where I belong, to run a peaceful election, because a violent election will mean those results may be unacceptable to the IEBC as valid, and then we won't even have a nominee. This happened in Sarangombe the last time, when the councillor elections, the civic elections, were so chaotic in the ODM nomination that the certificate never reached. And the SDP fellow is the one who ended up winning. Councillor Odiao was not in ODM. So we must make sure we have peaceful elections, or else we'll have no MP. Yeah.
We are going for a break. If we come back, Ken Okoth is going to tell us what he's going to do to ensure that peace prevails during this election, and also who he would want to be his governor if he's elected. Stay tuned.
Watch. Kibera News Network channel on YouTube. www.kiberanewsnetwork.org.
Welcome back. Mr. Ken Okoth.
Yes.
What will you do to ensure that peace prevails in Kibera, and also security issues during these elections?
So on the security issues, we have contacted the police and the administration police. We have talked to the chiefs and the DOs of this area to say this is well known. Kibera can be a hotspot for violence, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So we're talking with the state apparatus and the police mechanism to make sure that they'll be deployed plainclothes and well as uniform officers in the party elections and nominations that are coming up, in the campaigns to look for any incitement. The new laws of Kenya forbid incitement. And so we're also doing a forum of candidates. We had a meeting last weekend with the Prime Minister, and all the candidates pledged it's going to be a peaceful election. We've talked to Mr. Bett, who's the head of our party elections board, and he's made it clear, if you're affiliated and associated with any violence, you'll be disqualified. I will tell you my personal guarantee, Ken Okoth will never buy a rungu or a panga or pay young people to go throw stones and attack anybody and cause violence. If I'm blessed with any resources, I'd rather use them buying balls, uniforms, books, pens and pencils, or computers, things that will develop the talent of our youth and empower them, rather than use them to cause violence and destruction. In Kiswahili, mimi ni mtu wa kuunganisha watu, si mtu wa kugonganisha watu. So personal pledge of mine, working with the other candidates, following the rules within the party and coordinating the police to make sure that everybody knows. But we're preaching the message of peace, and we've got a positive response from our young people who know they stand to gain nothing by being used for violence. So we're listening to that, and we've talked to many young people. They've done concerts, sensitization on the need to have peaceful election rather than violence. And I'm confident it's not going to be like last time.
Excellent.
Yes.
This is perhaps personal.
Yes.
Who would you want to be your governor?
Yes.
If you become the MP for Kibra?
Okay, the two main candidates who are running for governor now is Dr. Kidero and Dr. Margaret Wanjiru. And I think both of them bring very unique things to the table. Dr. Kidero has a great history and success in business, and he's new to politics. I hope he can go out and connect with people some more. So far, he has not connected with our people in Kibera. He has not connected with me. So I really can't say I'm going to support somebody who hasn't connected with me. I'm running my campaign here. I have my grassroots supports here. But if he doesn't recognize me, I cannot say I'll support him. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would say Margaret Wanjiru brings a lot to the table. She represents the face of Kenya. She represents gender equity in the party and democracy. And I think she should stand strong and fight for this nomination. She has a connection with the more regular Mwananchi that Dr. Kidero doesn't have. And she has connected with me even during this campaign and recognized me, not even as a question of resources, but just as a question of to say, hey, young man, you're running there, keep doing what you're doing. Even just that simple message makes a huge difference to me. It lets me know as an MP who will serve the interests of our people. And Margaret Wanjiru, by recognizing me as a leader in her campaigns, means she will take time when I'm the MP and I need her as a governor to do something for people of Kibera, I can reach her. That's not something I've had with Kidero. So if he can't recognize me during the campaign, when he's governor of Nairobi and I need him to do something for the people of Kibera, I have my doubts that he will recognize me and work with me. So I'll leave that question there. The people can conclude, but I would say Governor Wanjiru is doing a good job of connecting with the people on the ground, and she should fight for the vote, because ODM is a national party. It's not a party for one tribe. It's a party for all the tribes. And Margaret Wanjiru has taken a huge step, because people think she should be in TNA with Uhuru Kenyatta. And she has been a loyal supporter of Raila Odinga since far, LDP, NDP, all the way to ODM. She's been with the Prime Minister. So I think she's a great leader in her own way, and she must stay firm and see if people will vote for her. The same for Dr. Kidero. He brings great intellectual qualities, great management experience. I'm sure he'll do a lot for Kibera, for Nairobi in general, but I don't have that personal connection with him, so I can't say I'll endorse somebody that I don't have a connection with.
Yeah, so that's your personal opinion.
Yes.
The vote is with the people.
The vote is with the people.
Okay. Is it a guarantee that after nomination you automatically become the MP for Kibra Constituency?
Well, I want to say this clearly to the people of Kibera. We are not taking anything for granted. I will fight for every vote and ask for everyone's support even after the nomination all the way through March 4th. But the chances are very good, and I'll tell the people of Kibera, you can take this to the bank. The MP for Kibra is going to be decided on March 7th, January 17th at the ODM nomination. That is next Thursday. That is when we are deciding the MP for Kibra. It's going to be decided at the nomination, so if you want to participate, please show up and vote for Ken Okoth, because I'm ready to do this. I'm in it to win it. Please come out, vote for me, and that will give us the stamina and the momentum to go through March 4th and get into Parliament to implement our vision and our agenda.
We have issues in Kibra where Nubians wants to be issued with title deeds.
Yes.
How will you handle this issue if you become the MP?
That's a very good question. I think, again, it goes to leadership. Do you have a leadership that has a trust and respect of all the people in the community, and understanding and sympathy for both sides? I know what the concerns are. Some people in Kibera are concerned that if Nubians are given title to land, that they will be evicted and they'll be homeless, or that their rents will go through the roof. How do you address that? That has to be addressed in an atmosphere of trust and confidence. The Nubians have a right to land in Kibera, and I have no problem consistently saying the Nubians must be given title to their land. No other politician is going to come out and say that honestly, not even the Nubian candidates. I will say it here. I grew up in Kibera. Nubians have no other homeland. As a minority in Kenya, historically, they should be given the title to their land. What's left that they can be given? 280 acres, 320 acres. Give them that and let them invest in it. It's a question of fairness and justice. And there's no justice if somebody else is getting injustice. Community justice is ready and must be done in Kibera, and we'll have justice and peace for all sides if they get their land. And I can assure you, Nubians getting land title is not a threat to anybody in Kibera. It builds up their justice and gives them an economic base, which is the right thing to do. And they will need clients. They will need people to rent any houses that are built on their land. They will need people to come support those businesses that are built on their land. So they're going to get a community title. That must happen. I'm sure there's a hitch somewhere in government with the new laws coming, with the new land commission and the new constitution that is still being implemented. But as soon as it's done, Nubians, if the government won't give them their land administratively, have a right to get it through the court system, because we have an independent judiciary, and you can take a constitutional case and force the government to do it. But I don't think it will get to that. The government of CORD, Coalition of Reforms and Democracy, led by a president President Raila Odinga, who's been MP of Kibra, will make sure the Nubians get their land. Me as MP will fight for that, and I do not think anyone should panic that Nubians getting land will take something away from anybody else.
My director tells me that we are running out of time.
Yes.
But perhaps very quickly,
yes.
Who is your biggest threat as per now?
I'm running my campaign according to my own rules and my own strategy, and anyone who wants to observe can observe it. I'm winning the hearts and minds of all people of Kibra, of all political parties, bringing people into the Code Alliance, getting them to vote for my presidential candidate, getting them to vote for me, and that's all that I'm concerned with. There's all these other people. I respect them. I honor them for stepping into the democratic space and the political space, and I hope they'll do peaceful campaigns. That's all I ask for them. I know and I'm confident our campaign is going to be victorious, and I will respect these people during the campaign so that immediately I win, I bring them on board to continue supporting me, and we have the inevitable train to Parliament and to State House. So I don't have threats, I don't have rivals amongst all these other people who are running, and I support them and I recognize them and respect them, and I know come March 18th and 19th, will be sitting down at a table with me as a nominee and working on how to get their supporters on board, how to get their agendas and needs on board to move forward and serve the people of Kibera United as all members of CORD.
Mheshimiwa,
yes.
Your last word for the people of Kibra.
Nimetenda, nitazidi. I will serve you with integrity. I'll serve you with all my heart. I'll serve you without ukabila, ufisadi, ubaguzi. No tribalism, no corruption, no discrimination. I'll be an MP for all people of Kibra. I'll work with all my heart, with all the connections to get you success through connections to our State House and our President, through agitation and advocacy in our Parliament, and through connections to foreign government and other friends of Kibera. Let us work together. It's one Kibra, a Kibra agenda for the Kibra people. Thank you for your support. Please vote for me March 17th. Let me start the journey to Parliament.
Amazing. This was Ken Okoth, MP Aspirant Kibra Constituency. Mheshimiwa, we wish you all the best, and we'll call you once again after winning this nomination.
Thank you very much to the people of Kibera News Network. Keep up the good work you do in the community. You're a good example of what is capable of happening in Kibera.
Thank you.
Thank you.